They said she was born from a wish, that her mother begged the gods for a child as beautiful as snow, and the gods answered. They said beauty like hers was a gift, but they never warned her that gifts could become prisons, and they never told her that the monster who would cage her was the same man who killed her mother. In a village where the elders' words were law and tradition ruled every heart, there lived a woman named Amanda who had been barren for 15 years. Every month, her womb remained empty. Every year, the village women whispered behind her back. "Cursed," they said. "The gods have rejected her." Amanda's husband, Bio, loved her despite the shame, but Amanda's heart broke a little more each day. One evening, she walked to the sacred river at the edge of the village. She knelt in the mud, tears streaming down her face, and whispered a prayer. "Please, I don't ask for wealth. I don't ask for power. I only ask for a child, a beautiful child, someone I can love, someone who will remember me when I'm gone." The river went still. Then an old woman appeared from the mist, her eyes ancient and knowing. "Your wish is heard," the old woman said, "but beauty always has a price. Are you willing to pay it?" Amanda didn't hesitate. "Yes, anything." The old woman smiled sadly. "Then it is done." 9 months later, Amanda gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Darasimi, but her parents called her Dara. And the old woman's words proved true. Dara was beautiful beyond measure. Her skin glowed like polished bronze. Her eyes were large and bright. Her smile could light up the darkest room. Bio held his daughter and wept with joy. "She's perfect, Amanda. Our miracle." Amanda held Dara close, her heart full for the first time in years. For 8 years, they were happy. Bio worked the yam fields, Amanda tended their home, and Dara grew more beautiful with each passing day. But beauty always has a price. When Dara turned 8, Amanda fell ill, a fever that wouldn't break, a cough that grew worse each day. Bio carried his wife to every healer in the village. None could help. "I need to take her to the royal healer," Bio said desperately. "In the capital. It's 3 days' journey, but they say he can cure anything." The old woman who had appeared at the river years ago came to their home that night. "I will take her," the old woman said. "You stay with your daughter. I know the way." Bio hesitated, but Amanda was dying. He had no choice. "Please," Bio begged, "save her." The old woman and Amanda left that night. They traveled through the storm. Rain pounded the earth, lightning split the sky. By the second night, Amanda was barely breathing. Blood seeped through her wrapper from internal bleeding the sickness had caused. The old woman carried her to the nearest shelter, the palace of King Kofi. She knocked on the great doors. A young man answered, 17 years old, King Kofi himself. His mother had just died a month before. His heart was still raw with grief and anger. "Please," the old woman begged, rain streaming down her face. "This woman is dying. Just one night of shelter, please." King Kofi looked at Amanda's pale, bleeding face. He looked at the old woman's desperate eyes, and he felt nothing but contempt. "We don't shelter beggars, especially not dying ones. Take her away. Let her die elsewhere, not in my palace." The old woman's eyes filled with tears. "She has a daughter, a little girl. Please, just tonight." I said no. King Kofi's voice was ice. "Leave, now, before I have my guards throw you out." He slammed the door. The old woman carried Amanda back into the storm. By morning, Amanda was dead. The old woman returned to the village and told Bio everything. Bio collapsed, holding 8-year-old Dara as she cried for her mother. But the old woman was not done. She returned to King Kofi's palace. When he opened the door, she revealed herself, not an old woman, but a witch of terrible power. "You let a mother die because your heart is stone, so you will become what you truly are. Every night you will transform into the beast you hide inside. You will live as a monster, and unless someone who has every reason to hate you chooses to save you anyway, you will die as a beast. You have 12 years. King Kofi laughed. You crazy old woman, your words have no power over me. I am your king. The witch smiled coldly. We shall see. That night, King Kofi transformed for the first time. His body twisted, his bones cracked, his skin grew coarse, claws erupted from his fingers. His face became that of a beast, half man, half lion, teeth like daggers. He screamed in agony. Every night for 12 years the curse would take him, and every night he would remember the woman he let die in the rain. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your location in the comments right now. I want to see where this story is reaching. Let's go. Back in the village, Dara grew up without her mother. Bayo did his best. He worked the fields, he cooked the meals, he told Dara stories about Amanda every night. Your mother wished for you, Bayo would say, holding Dara close. She wanted you more than anything in the world, and the gods gave you. She was her greatest joy, my Dara. Dara would smile, but her heart ached. She barely remembered her mother's face. When Dara turned 12, tragedy struck again. Bayo was working in the yam fields when he collapsed. The grief of losing Amanda had never left him. It had weakened his heart. 3 days later, Bayo died. Dara, now 12 years old and alone, was sent to live with her mother's sister, Auntie Yemisi. Yemisi was a widow with a daughter named Bintu, just 14 years old. At the funeral, Yemisi knelt beside Dara and whispered, "You will be welcome in our home, but never mistake your place. First rule, cover your face when my daughter is around. Your beauty is an insult to her." From then, Dara knew that her life had changed forever. Yemisi's true nature emerged barely a week after. "Darasimi," Yemisi's voice cracked like a whip that morning. "Wake up, you lazy girl. Do you think beauty will feed you? Go and fetch water from the stream. When you're done, enter the kitchen. If you blacken any of my pots, you will be sleeping outside." Dara obeyed. Grind the pepper, sweep the compound, scrub the floors, cook the soup, wash the clothes, weed the farm. Every day, the list grew longer. Bintu, Yemisi's daughter, did nothing. She wore fine wrappers, she oiled her skin, she braided her hair with beads. Still, Dara shone brighter no matter what Yemisi did for her daughter. "Mother, why does Dara have to do all the work?" Bintu asked, though her tone was more curious than concerned. "Because her father left debts," Yemisi lied. "She's working to pay them off. It's only fair." It was a lie, but Bayo didn't know that. Dara didn't know that. Years passed. Dara grew into a young woman of 22, and her beauty was breathtaking. Men from neighboring villages came asking for her hand. Yemisi chased them all away. "She's not available. She owes me a debt. When it's paid, then we'll talk about marriage." But the debt never paid because it didn't exist. Bintu, now 24, grew jealous. No matter how fine her clothes, no matter how much oil she rubbed into her skin, still, Dara shone brighter. "Mother, why does Dara have to be so beautiful?" Bintu asked, her voice tinged with bitterness. "It's not fair." Yemisi's eyes would narrow. "Beauty is wasted on servants. Don't worry, my child. I will not allow her flourish where you haven't." Then Yemisi's husband died, and everything got worse. Creditors came knocking, real debts this time. Her husband had borrowed money for Bintu's dowry preparations, for farm equipment, for failed business ventures. 100 cowries owed to a nobleman. Yemisi had no money, no land to sell, nothing. "Dadasimi," Yemisi barked, "you'll work the farms twice as hard now. We need to sell more yams, more cassava. Move." Dara worked until her hands bled, until her back ached, until she collapsed into bed each night too exhausted to cry. 3 months after her uncle's death, Dara was working in the fields when she heard commotion from the compound. Drums, horses, voices shouting. She straightened, wiping sweat from her brow, and hurried back. Royal guards filled the compound, horses stamped their hooves, and there, in the center, stood a figure in elaborate robes, face hidden behind a ceremonial mask, gold and black, carved with the royal crest. It was King Kofi. Yemisi stood frozen at first, eyes wide. Then her face shifted into something calculating. "Darsimi," she hissed, grabbing Dara's arm and pulling her aside, thinking the royal family was here for Darasimi's hand like all the other men. "Go inside, now, hide yourself. Don't come out until I call for you." "But, Aunt Yemisi, what's happening?" "Do as I say," Yemisi snapped. "Go, quickly." Dara, confused, slipped into the house and crouched behind the doorway, listening. Yemisi smoothed her wrapper, plastered a smile on her face, and turned to face the masked prince with a deep bow. "Your Highness," Yemisi said, her voice warm and welcoming. "What an honor! What a blessing to have you visit our humble home. Please, sit. Let me bring you water. You must be here for the daughter of the house, Bintu. Bintu, bring the king something to drink." Bintu rushed forward with a clay cup, her hands trembling with excitement. Yemisi's mind raced. She could already see it, the respect, the gifts villagers would bring, the power. Yemisi's smile grew wider. "Your Highness, to what do we owe this incredible honor? Has word of our family reached the palace?" Prince Kofi's voice was cold, flat, emotionless. "Your husband borrowed 600 cowries from the crown 5 years ago. I've come to collect." The smile froze on Yemisi's face. "What?" she whispered. "Your husband, before he died, took a loan of 600 cowries. The debt is now due. I will have my payment." Yemisi's heart plummeted. Her legs felt weak. This was not a marriage proposal. It was a debt. There wasn't going to be any respect, gift, or power. This was shame. My husband just died," Yemisi stammered, her voice shaking now. "We have nothing. Please, Your Highness, give us time." "I've given you 5 years," Prince Kofi interrupted. "Time is over. I'll take your land, your home, everything." Panic clawed at Yemisi's chest. She looked around desperately, at the compound, at Bintu, at the guards surrounding them. Then her eyes darted toward the house where Dara was hiding, and an idea formed. A terrible, cruel idea. In all the years that Yemisi had taken Dara under her wings, she never thought she would see the day that Dara's beauty, which brought them so much bad luck, would turn on her. Yemisi's face changed. The panic smoothed into something harder, sharper. "Wait," Yemisi said, her voice steadying. "Your Highness, wait, please." Prince Kofi tilted his masked head slightly. Yemisi stepped forward, her hands clasped together. "The debt? Forgive me, Your Highness, but I must speak the truth. The debt wasn't my husband's." The prince said nothing. "It was my brother-in-law's debt, Bayo. He borrowed the money years ago. My husband was just holding it for him. Bayo is dead now, but his daughter lives here. She inherited the debt." "Mama," Bintu whispered, horrified. Yemisi shot her a warning look, silencing her. The look said, "I'm doing this for us." Prince Kofi was quiet for a moment. Then, "Where is this daughter?" Yemisi turned toward the house and raised her voice, sweet as honey laced with poison. "Darasimi, come out, child. Don't be silly. We have an important guest." Inside the house, Dara's blood ran cold. Her father's debt? That was a lie. Her father never borrowed money from anyone. He was careful, cautious. But Yemisi's tone left no room for refusal. Slowly, Dara stepped out of the house, and the moment she appeared, the compound went silent. Even in her dirt-stained wrapper, even with exhaustion shadowing her face, her beauty was undeniable. Prince Kofi stepped closer, studying her through the slits of his mask. For a moment, his cold demeanor wavered, his breath caught. Yemisi saw his reaction and smiled inwardly. Yes, look at her. Even covered in dirt, she's beautiful. Take her and leave us in peace. Your Highness, Yemisi said smoothly, this is Darasimi, my brother-in-law's daughter. As I said, the debt is hers, but... Yemisi paused dramatically, then continued, her voice dripping with false generosity. But she has no money, no land, nothing to give you. However, Yemisi stepped beside Dara, placing a hand on her shoulder like a merchant presenting goods. She is beautiful, as you can see, more beautiful than any woman in this kingdom, I'd wager. If you would accept her as your bride, Your Highness, we could consider the debt settled. A fair trade, wouldn't you say? Dara's heart stopped. What? She breathed. Mama, Bintu gasped. You can't... Silence, Bintu, Yemisi hissed, without looking at her. Prince Kofi stared at Dara. His voice when he spoke was quiet, almost hesitant. She's acceptable. Then his voice hardened. I agree to your terms. The debt is settled. Dara's world tilted. No, I'm not property. You can't just... You are now, Prince Kofi said flatly. Guards, take her. Wait! Dara turned to Yemisi, desperation in her eyes. Aunt Yemisi, please. My father never borrowed money. You know that. Please, don't do this. But Yemisi looked away, her face cold. Your father's debts are not my concern, Darasimi. You should be grateful. You're going to marry a prince. Many girls would kill for this opportunity. I don't want this, Dara screamed as guards grabbed her arms. Please, Aunt Yemisi, Bintu. Bintu stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, but she said nothing. Dara fought. She twisted. She begged. But the guards were strong. They dragged her toward the horses. The last thing Dara saw before they pulled her away was Yemisi's face, calm, satisfied, relieved. And she understood. Yemisi had sold her, not to pay a debt, but to be free of her. The palace was cold. Beautiful, yes. Grand, yes. But cold. Servants moved like ghosts, their eyes downcast. No one smiled, no one spoke unless spoken to. Dara was brought to the throne room. King Kofi sat on his throne, still masked. You will live in the West Wing, he said, his voice devoid of warmth. You will never enter my chambers. You will bear me an heir before I die. That is your only purpose here. Dara's hands clenched into fists. You speak of me like I'm cattle. That's all any wife is to a man like me. Don't expect love. Don't expect kindness. Give me a son, and you'll live comfortably. Disobey me, and you'll regret it. He stood and left without another word. An elderly woman named Io, the head servant, led Dara to her chambers. The room was beautiful, silk curtains, a soft bed, but it felt like a cage. It was a cage. Strong rod bars had on the window to prevent her from running, a guard outside her room at all times. The king, Dara whispered to Io one day. Why is he so... cold? Io finished. She sighed. He wasn't always like this. Something happened. That night, 12 years ago, it changed him. What happened? Io's face darkened. I've said too much. Just don't go to his chambers after sunset. Promise me? Dara wanted to ask more, but Io left like her seat had caught fire. Days passed. King Kofi avoided Dara completely during the day, but at night, Dara heard sounds from his chambers. Growls, roars, furniture breaking, something inhuman. Every morning, servants would clean claw marks from his doors. Dara tried to ignore it, but curiosity gnawed at her. What is he hiding?
If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe because what happens next will blow your mind.
One afternoon, Dara was walking through the palace gardens. She had been bored to death. Back in Aunt Yamisi's house, she never had the time of day to breathe because it was one chore after another. But here, she had nothing to do. She walked till she memorized every corner of the palace. She picked fallen fruits, she hummed to herself. Then she thought of her mother and father. Lost in thought, she didn't see the broken stone step. Her foot caught. She fell hard, her palm slamming into a sharp rock. Blood poured from the cut. "Ah!" Dara gasped, cradling her hand. Heavy footsteps. "You're bleeding." Dara looked up at the sound of the voice. King Kofi had appeared from nowhere, standing in the shadows, still wearing his mask. She could only see his dark eyes. "It's nothing, Your Highness," Dara said quickly, hiding her hand. "Let me see it." "I said it's nothing." King Kofi stepped forward and grabbed her wrist, not gently, but not cruel either. He examined the cut, his masked face tilted down. For a moment, his cold demeanor cracked. His thumb brushed her palm, checking the depth of the wound. "This needs to be cleaned," he said quietly. He led her to the fountain, tore fabric from his own robe, and wrapped her hand with surprising care. Dara watched him, confused. "Why do you care? You said I'm only here to—" "I'm not a complete monster," King Kofi interrupted, his voice softened now. "Then why do you act like one?" Silence. King Kofi's hand stilled on hers. "Because it's easier," he finally said, "than being what I was before." Dar was about to ask what he meant when a cough that sounded like it broke out from the deepest part of King Kofi's ribs cut through the air. Once, twice, 3 times. Dar's eyes widened with surprise and worry. "Are you okay?" King Kofi dropped her hand and stood abruptly. The usual coldness had returned. "Go to your chambers. Stay there." He walked away quickly. But Dara noticed something. His hand was trembling, and there was blood on his lips. He wiped it quickly, thinking she hadn't seen, but she had. That night, Dara couldn't sleep. She thought about his trembling hand, the blood on his lips, Io's words, that night 12 years ago. Then she heard it. Sounds from his chambers, not just furniture breaking this time, coughing, choking, a groan of pain. Dara sat up. "Stay in your chambers," he had said. "Don't go to his chambers after sunset," Io had said. But someone was in pain. Dara's feet moved before her mind could stop them. She crept through the dark hallways, following the sounds. She reached his chambers. The door was locked. But days of doing nothing taught Dara more routes around the palace than you could guess. There was a servants' passage, a narrow corridor used by maids. Dara slipped inside. The room was dark, except for moonlight streaming through the window, and there, in the shadows, was a beast. 8 feet tall, massive shoulders, claws like daggers, a lion-like head with fangs, fur covered his body. His eyes, human eyes, King Kofi's eyes, glowed with great pain. He was hunched over, bleeding from his own scratches. Dar's breath caught. The beast's head snapped toward her. "Get out," he roared, his voice a terrible mix of human and animal. Dara felt the blood in her bones freeze over. She couldn't move if she tried, terrified to death. The beast backed into the shadows, trying to hide his face. "Don't look at me. Don't." But Dara saw his eyes, and in those eyes, she saw the king. "You're hurt," Dara whispered. His hand reached out toward her, a tiny gesture, a hope for comfort. "I'm a monster," he growled. "Leave before I hurt you." His voice was unlike anything she had ever heard from him. Dar's heart pounded, but she didn't run. She saw him trying to hide, saw the shame in his posture, saw the blood from his self-inflicted wounds. "Why aren't you running?" the beast asked, his voice breaking. "Because," Dara said softly, tears streaming down her face, "I see a man in pain, not a monster." She took a step forward. The beast flinched. "Don't!" But Dara reached out slowly and touched his clawed hand. The beast went still. "What happened to you?" Dara whispered, pain raw in her own voice. They stayed like that until dawn, Dara doing whatever she could to help ease the passing of time. When the first light touched the horizon, the beast began to transform. His body shrank, his claws retracted, his fur receded. King Kofi collapsed to the floor, human again, weak, exhausted, covered in his own blood. Dara was still there. She'd brought water, cloth for his wounds. King Kofi looked at her, disbelief in his eyes. "You should have run." "But I didn't." "Tell me what happened," Dara said gently. "Please." King Kofi closed his eyes. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he began to speak. 12 years ago, I was 17. My mother had just died. I was angry. At the world, at the gods, at everything. His voice cracked. One night, during a storm, an old woman came to the palace gates. She was carrying a younger woman. The younger woman was bleeding, dying. They begged for shelter, just for one night. Dara's breath caught. "I looked at them," King Kofi continued, his voice filled with shame, "and I felt nothing. I said, 'We don't shelter beggars. Let her die elsewhere, not in my palace.'" Tears streamed down his face now. "The old woman was a witch. She cursed me. She said, 'You have a heart of stone, so you will become the beast you truly are. Every night you will transform, and unless someone who has every reason to hate you chooses to save you, you will die as a beast. You have 12 years. I didn't even believe her until the first night. Silence filled the room. "The dying woman?" Dara said, her voice shaking. "What was her name?" "I don't know. I never asked. That's how little I cared about my own subjects." Dara closed her eyes. Tears fell. "Her name," Dara said quietly, "was Amanda." King Kofi froze. "She was my mother." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. King Kofi stared at Dara, horror dawning in his eyes. No, that's not. My mother was traveling to see a healer. She was bleeding, dying. The old woman she traveled with tried to save her, but you turned them away." King Kofi's face crumpled. "I killed your mother?" "Yes, you did." The pain, guilt, and regret combined in his eyes was indescribable. "Then let me die," King Kofi whispered. "I deserve this curse. I deserve all of it." Dara stood abruptly and left the room. For 3 days, she didn't see King Kofi. She stayed in her chambers, mind spinning, heart torn. She had every reason to hate him, every reason to let him die. "Justice," her mind whispered. "He killed your mother. Let him pay." But another voice, her father's voice, echoed in her memory. "Your mother wished for you because she wanted to bring love into the world. Don't let hate win, my Dara." On the third day, Ao came to her chambers. "You know, don't you? He killed my mother." "Yes, and he spent 12 years paying for it. The curse doesn't just transform his body, it tortures his soul. Every night he feels every moment of pain he ever caused. The witch made sure of that. Dara's hands clenched. Why are you telling me this? Because you have a choice to make. And I think your mother would want you to choose love over hate. Dara looked out the window. Ayo continued. The king has 7 days left. After that, the curse becomes permanent. He'll die as a beast. 7 days. Dara thought of her mother's smile, her mother's kindness. She thought of the king's human eyes in that beast's face. She thought of the blood on his lips, the gentle way he'd bandaged her hand. That was no beast. That was a man who made a mistake when he was just a boy after losing his mother. It did not excuse his actions, but it also wasn't going to excuse Dara's. And so, she made her choice. I'm going to find the witch. I'm going to break his curse. Ayo's eyes widened. What? Why? After what he did? I'm not doing this for him, Dara said firmly. I'm doing this for my mother. She died because of his cruelty. I won't let her death mean nothing. She taught me love. She taught me to forgive. So I'll show him what forgiveness looks like. Dara went to King Kofi's chambers. He was sitting in the corner, head in his hands. I'm leaving. King Kofi looked up, nodded once. I won't hold you back. You can return to your family. Your father is free of the debt. Now, I owe you an even bigger one that can never be repaid. That's not what I mean. Dara stepped forward into the room. King Kofi's brows dipped in confusion. I'm going to find the witch. I'm going to break your curse. No, King Kofi stood. You can't. It's too dangerous. She won't help you, and even if she does, why would you? Because, Dara interrupted, my mother would have forgiven you, and I will honor her by doing the same. King Kofi's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve... You're right, you don't. But I'm not doing this for you. And she left. If this story is touching your heart, if Dara Sami's courage is going something to you, like this video right now. Share the story with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me, would you forgive someone who hurt you this deeply, who killed your loved one and imprisoned you behind the same walls you once begged shelter from? Please tell me. I really want to know, and I'm reading and replying to every single comment. Dara's journey was brutal. She learned about the witch, traveled through dark forests, crossed treacherous rivers, faced wild animals. She thought of her mother with every step. Finally, after 4 days of travel, she found the witch's dwelling, a cottage hidden in the mist. The witch appeared before her, the same old woman from 12 years ago. The Beauty and the Beast, the witch said, smiling. You've come to beg for his life. I've come to ask for justice. Justice? I gave him justice. And he suffered 12 years of torment. Isn't that enough? My mother was kind. She forgave easily. Honor her by ending this. The witch studied Dara carefully. You're wiser than your beauty suggests, but breaking a curse requires a sacrifice. What will you give? Dara's heart pounded. What do you ask? The witch said, I'll break the curse, she said slowly, but you must trade your beauty, the very thing your mother wished for, the gift she died to give you. Trade it, and he goes free. Dara's breath caught. Her beauty, her mother's final gift. She closed her eyes and saw her mother's face. My mother didn't give me beauty. She gave me love, and love doesn't live in a face. She opened her eyes. I accept. The witch waved her hand. Dara felt it immediately, the glow fading from her skin, the brightness leaving her eyes. She became plain, average, unremarkable. The witch handed her a vial. Give it to him at moonrise on the last night. It will break the curse. Dara took the vial and ran without looking back or thinking about what she had just traded for the liquid in her hand. She traveled day and night, barely stopping to rest. On the 7th day, the last day, she reached the palace at sunset. She burst into King Kofi's chambers. He was in beast form, collapsed on the floor, barely breathing. "Dara!" His voice was weak. "I have the cure!" Dara cried, kneeling beside him. The beast's eyes focused on her. You're different." "I traded my beauty for your life." Horror filled the beast's eyes. "No, you shouldn't have." "Drink this." Dara poured the vial into his mouth. "Please." He swallowed it. The moon rose. Light flooded the room. Then the beast began to transform, not into the king, but into pure golden light. The curse shattered. When the light faded, King Kofi knelt on the floor, human, healed. But something else had happened. Dara's beauty had returned, brighter than before. "What?" whispered Dara. The witch's voice echoed through the room. "True sacrifice breaks all curses. You gave freely what was taken. Both are restored." King Kofi looked at Dara and fell to his knees. "You saved me after everything I did." "I saved you," Dara said, "because hate creates monsters. You were a monster. Now be a man." King Kofi reached for her hand. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I swear I will spend the rest of my life earning it. Will you stay? Not as payment for a debt, but as my wife, if you can ever love me." Dara looked at him, at the man who had killed her mother, at the man she had saved anyway. "I forgive you," Dara said, "but love takes time. If you want my heart, you'll have to earn it." King Kofi smiled through his tears. "Then I'll spend every day trying." 1 month later, King Kofi sent for Aunt Yemisi and Bintu. They arrived expecting rewards, thinking Dara had succeeded and they'd be honored. "Your Highness," Yemisi said, bowing low, "we heard the curse is broken. Praise the gods and praise my niece for—" "Silence," King Kofi said coldly. Guards surrounded Yemisi and Bintu. "You sold a girl to pay a debt that wasn't hers. You lied." "What? No! I told you, her father—" A royal record keeper stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I've reviewed the ledgers like you asked. There is no debt under the name Bayo. The only debt is under this woman's late husband, 600 cowries borrowed for Bintu's dowry." The crowd gasped. Yemisi's face went white. "You lied," King Kofi said, his voice shaking with rage. "You sold an innocent girl based on a lie." She was eating our food, living in our home. I had every right." "You had no right." King Kofi's voice was ice. "You are guilty of slavery, of lying to your king. Guards, take them." "No, please," Bintu wept. "You will work the palace farms for 10 years, unpaid. Every task you forced on Dara, you will now do. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn what she already knew." The guards dragged them away. 1 year later, King Kofi and Dara married. It wasn't a marriage born from debt or obligation. It was built on forgiveness, on patience, on love earned day by day. King Kofi transformed his kingdom. He built shelters for travelers, hospitals for the sick. He never turned anyone away. Dara became queen, known for her beauty, but it was her wisdom and mercy that made her even more remarkable. They had children who were taught, beauty fades, kindness lasts forever. Forgiveness, Queen Dara would say, doesn't erase the past, but it can create a future. My mother died because of cruelty. I lived because of love. Choose love, always. And King Kofi and Queen Dara, Their love grew stronger and greater. Even though they faced more trials in the future, they faced it together, choosing love and family above all else. The end. Drop a comment right now and tell me, what lesson did you take from Dara's story? And you don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because I have another incredible story coming that will leave you speechless. Thank you for watching. Every view, every like, every share means the world to me. Until next time, remember, true beauty lives in the heart.